Welcome back. Nearly a year after declaring the opioid epidemic a public health emergency, President Donald Trump recently signed into law a sweeping legislative package that lawmakers and public health experts believe will help curb the growing crisis in the U.S. But while millions of Americans battle some type of addiction, only 4% of the population gets the help that they need. Joining us now to talk about what the country is doing and why it doesn't always work is Brian McAlister, best-selling author, president and CEO of Freedom 365 Virtual Recovery System and the Full Recovery Wellness Center, and Mike, who is on his own unique journey of recovery. Let's dive right in. Brian, why don't you tell us about this escalating epidemic and what's going on with families and communities all across the country?
Well, everybody right now pretty much is familiar with the opioid epidemic. Sure. The situation is this. Last year in America, opioid overdoses killed more people than gun violence and automobile accidents combined. It's really hit the tipping point. It's costing our economy $550 billion with a B a year. Wow. So this program touches every facet of everyone's life. And what we're doing right now really isn't hitting the mark. It just scratches the surface. So what we did was we got together and said, how can we bring better quality care? How can we touch more people for less money?
That's awesome. And we know I did touch upon it that you just said there's billions of people in just this country alone that have some sort of addiction issue, but only 4% of these people are getting the help that they need. And it seems like we all know someone who's going through this journey of recovery. So maybe why don't you think people are finding the help that they need, or they can't find it?
Well, there's several reasons. Number one is lack of good quality health care, health insurance right now. People can't either don't have it or have high deductibles. They can't take time off of work. There's several reasons that really people don't come in, and then just the shame and the uneducated still judging people who have this issue, and it can happen to anybody. You know, it's no different than somebody who gets cancer, who has heart disease, who has diabetes. It's a disease. Mm-hmm.
So we talk on the show on WMBC about how it really is a disease, and we sometimes as a society don't look at it as breast cancer or diabetes. We're afraid to talk about it, right? So how, I guess, are you and even Mike being here today with us, thank you so much, it's great to have you, breaking this stigma to talk about addiction and talk about how we're going to help people who really do need it?
Well, the deal is this. Recovery's possible. I've been sober myself since August 2nd, 1990. And by taking the same skill set I was using to push myself into the gutter, which is an intense, single-minded focus that all alcoholics and drug addicts share, by taking that, figuring out what my dreams are, how to point that towards my dreams, and I've become wildly successful. And part of getting sober is taking that message to other people and showing them how to accomplish the same thing. And that's why Mike and I are here today.
Yeah. So let's, dive right into defining these different aspects of this journey of recovery, right? We're starting with addiction, even some relapse, and then recovery isn't, we were talking about this before, it's not a final destination, right? It's a constant journey that we're on.
Exactly. You hear the word recovered, and that's really a misnomer. Recovery is an action word. It's a verb. It's not a noun. You're never really there. It's a constant moving forward. I'll always be an addict. I'll always be an alcoholic. The idea is I just don't pick up the first drink today, and I've not done that for today, for a lot of todays, and it's turned into a quality life.
For sure. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the different types of treatment that people are seeking out, and then of course we'll get into what you've created is so different and how it really has changed.
Well, typically most people, they wind up, when they realize they have an issue, the hardest thing is to walk in the door and admit there's a problem. When you do that, typically in this country we're very good about treating the physical aspect. We go to detox, we take the drugs out of the system. They're there for a couple of days, and what happens is they walk out the door and they typically pick right back up again because the habit, the mindset is still the same. They still have the mind of an addict. Other ways people are doing right now is they're doing a lot of medication-assisted treatment where they're going on Suboxone or Vivitrol or one of these other drugs to try to wean them off. But again, that hits the physical part, but they still have the consciousness of an addict. So that rarely works either. The idea is it takes time to reprogram your mind for success and rewrite the software in your head. And that's really what recovery is all about. In 28-day programs, I'm actually the CEO of a licensed ambulatory care facility specializing in alcohol and drug addiction. And 28 days is a great start, but it's not enough. If it's a 12-mile walk into the woods, it's a 12-mile walk out of the woods. If you've been drinking and drugging for year after year, it takes time to rewrite that software. software in your head and start changing your reality by one day at a time, not picking up a drink or drug. And that's really what recovery is all about.
Yeah, and sometimes we think, it's like I said before, everybody knows somebody who is affected by this epidemic and by what the country is experiencing, and we think, oh, well, you know, that person X, Y, and Z went to detox, they went to treatment, they're good now. But it's a constant, right, of reprogramming your head, even your heart, and your environment. So maybe why don't you tell us a little bit about this constant journey that you're on, Mike?
Well, it's always a constant journey. Like you said, you always got to work on it. You're never there. And when you have that struggle, you're always reaching out for help and looking for support. And Freedom 365 is always there with you in my pocket to go on and listen to a video, to put a keyword in there. It could be anger, something like that, to watch the video and get the feedback from Brian that you need to help you push through the days when you have a bad day.
Yeah. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what inspired you to create a system like this. We just talked about it's an everyday thing that sometimes you need to reach out to someone or get some kind of motivation to reinstill your dedication to getting better, right? So talk about how did you reach this point?
I got involved in the treatment industry because my sister died of a heroin overdose. I was blessed enough to get sober and stay sober, no relapse. I stayed the course, and I became wildly successful and an entrepreneur in business. And when this happened and I saw the effect it actually had on my family, I decided with my partner Rory and Steve that we were going to take this thing to the street and show people that there's a better way. Right now, national statistics are 80% of the people who attend a 28-day program and do nothing else relapse within the first 3 weeks of leaving, and 90% in the first 6 months. It's extraordinarily expensive, and if you don't have insurance, it's almost out of the reach for everybody. So we said, how can we bring better quality care to more people and meet them right where they're at? Typically what you'll hear is even when people do attend a 28-day program and they go on to a 12-step program, they'd say, okay, I'm okay when I'm here that 1 hour a day in the meeting. What about the other 23 hours that I'm here? How do I stay focused? Because addiction's cunning, baffling, powerful. It's a physical, emotional, and spiritual disease. It's always working on you. So the idea is, how do I stay the course? The program we created was designed to help more people reach sobriety, and it's device agnostic. It's in your hand, it's on your phone, it's on your computer. So 24 hours a day, whenever you have an issue, you're having a weak moment, you think you're having a fearful thought, you're having a crisis at work, you're having a relationship problem, financial problem, that's typically when that spark comes and you just react. You don't even think about relapse, it's just a reaction. So this is something that's designed to interrupt that thinking pattern and give you an instant measurable solution at the moment you need it the most.
For sure. And Mike, you even brought that up, that there's a day that you're feeling, you said anger. How has I want to call it an app that's kind of has that kind of feel to it, but how does the system, I guess, help you during those different emotions and environments that you're in?
Well, when I'm going along my day and all of a sudden I can feel anger, whatever it may be, I go into Freedom 365, I put the keyword in, and there'll be a video there of Brian talking to me, explaining certain things that I need to do or what the anger could lead to. When you talk about 28-day programs, I've done it quite a few times, more than once. So, like you were saying, it's always a struggle. You know, 28 days, you think it's great, everything, you did 28 days, you're clean, and life's going to be great, but it's not like that. You always got to work at it. You always got to keep on top of it, and Freedom 365 does that for me.
Yeah, it seems like 28 days is only good for the next 28 days, right? So if you're doing something that's every day to help you, that's going to help you for every other day that follows. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more. You said that you see a video of Brian speaking to you. Why is that so powerful, right? Brian shared his story with us, his own journey to recovery. What does it feel like to see someone who's been in your shoes, right, you know, in the palm of your hand or whatever device that you're on, helping you get through this?
Because when I watch it, I know I can relate to what he's saying, and that's really what helps you out a lot. You know, it's not somebody that just went to school to learn about recovery. He lived it. He went through it. He's been there, and he understands what we're feeling, the things that we go through, because he went through it.
Yeah.
So he's got a real powerful message a lot of times.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, what's a habit? Just a learned skill we develop through repetition. So I had a drinking and drugging habit, but I also had bad habits about how I talked to myself, what I thought I was capable of accomplishing, where I was going to wind up in life, what limitations I had. All the reasons that cause people to relapse, like finances, career, relationships, all these things are addressed in there. So it's not just about abstinence. Of course, you can't pick up the first drink or drug, but the idea is you're sober. What's next? How do I get the quality of life that keeps me pushing forward? That's what this is about.
For sure. And we touched upon it a little bit earlier, you know, how expensive it can be and how draining financially it can be to seek help. What makes this program different in addressing that?
Well, this is literally pennies a day. You know, for pennies a day, you can have 24-hour, 365-day support. And it's designed to touch every point of your life. The more touch points you have in recovery, the better chance of your success. They say that if you can interrupt a negative thinking pattern for as little as 2 minutes, most of the time the craving for drinking or drugging will pass. And think about habits. My lights went out the other day, and 3 times while those lights were out, I walked in the room and hit the light switch. I didn't even think about it. It's just so normal that I did it. That's how alcohol and drug addiction is. For years, I programmed myself that this was my solution. In early recovery, a few times I actually wound up pulling into a liquor store. I didn't even know how I got there. It was just automatic pilot. So the idea is you need time to interrupt those patterns and reprogram yourself for success. And this gives you the time and the support wherever, whenever you need it.
And with the recovery, that's just part of it. You stop using either alcohol or drugs, but it teaches you how to live a better life. It explains that to you. It helps you out, you know, because now you have to change as a person. You know, just stop using. It's not everything. And that teaches you how to be a better person, be a better husband, be a better father, be a, a better person in society.
For sure. So we did kind of talk about the first, I guess, if you're doing a 28-day program, but let's talk about that first year of recovery, of this journey on recovery. Why is that first year so important?
Well, think about this. Every time you do something that first year, it's the first time you've done it sober. First Christmas, the first birthday, the first party, the first time you walked in for a job interview, all these things. And for most people in life, there's a certain fear factor, there's a certain anxiety go with that. And as an alcoholic and addict, I trained myself that my solution was to relax by reaching for a drink or a drug. Even after it didn't work, even though it no longer worked, I still was conditioned to go with that response. So this gives you an opportunity to address all those issues and more. There's over 500 interactive videos. There's a complete 28-day program that covers everything recovery. It literally, you can type in hundreds of words and come up with thousands of solutions in this program, and it's completely interactive. And everything's designed to interrupt the negative thinking pattern, give you a solution, and then give you a measurable outcome for your action. So it's all, and it's like a gamification. There's a reward system. It has to be enjoyable. It has to be entertaining, and it is.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have any kind of, I guess, time in that first year where this really helped you, or you can remember a message from Brian or some kind of video or something like that to give our viewers an idea of what it's like to be in this moment and to need help, to need to hear a voice, and then what do you see on the other
It could
end?
be anything. Like when you're in sobriety, you go to a wedding, it's your first wedding, going there not drinking. You go on a vacation, it's the first time being away and not using alcohol or anything like that. And one thing that he always says a lot is, if you don't pick up that first drink, and you got to get that in your mind, you don't pick it up, you'll be fine. And that's something that he says a lot in the videos, constantly. You know, don't pick up the first drink just for today.
Yeah. So,
and that's really how simple it can be. Is I've just been avoiding the first drink and drug today for a lot of todays, and I've stacked a lot of todays on top of each other. It's become a great quality of life. Alcoholics and addicts aren't bad people. They're people with issues. You know, they're people that have physical, emotional, mental disease, and the idea is it is treatable. And on the same topic, I hear a statement being thrown around a lot lately that says relapse is a normal part of recovery. And you know, I I don't believe that. I think that relapse happens in recovery, but it's no more normal. I'm drinking poison. I'm eating poison. You know, there's nothing normal about that. You know, it's no more normal than sticking my hand in the fire. You know, I'm injuring myself. So it can be overcome, and the mind can be retrained, but it's really not a necessary part of recovery. It happens, but it doesn't have to happen. And that's what Freedom 365 is designed to do, interrupt that negative thinking pattern before it starts.
And I think that's awesome to hear from someone like you who's been there, who gets it, who understands it, to give this message to someone else who is in that same position as you, right? So how does, I guess, this system and all aspects of recovery, how do these different types of treatment combine and work together?
Well, all recovery is good, let me tell you. You know, there's something for everybody. There's not a one-size-fits-all. And medical detox is absolutely necessary for somebody who's got the physical component. There's certain drugs you can detox from, alcohol, for instance, where you can die from the detox. So the idea is you want to go through a medical detox. If you're blessed enough to have health insurance, if you're blessed enough to be able to afford to go to a 28-day program, it's a fantastic way to interrupt your pattern, get away from your problems, focus on your recovery, and get a good baseline.
You know, we're always so plugged in to something, and with any kind of habit, it can be right as simple as keeping yourself busy, keeping yourself tuned into what your goals are, focused on what you need to do and what you want to do, really. So, I mean, this is great. The program's great. Where can our viewers get more information about you, about the book, about the program?
Well, you can go to VRS for Virtual Recovery System, freedom365.com. That's VRS, freedom365.com. And this program can be purchased there. And the deal is this: we give you the program for a full year. It's a technological software solution to deal with the current opioid and just alcohol and drug addiction in general in the United States. And the idea, it takes time to create some new habits. So we make sure that everybody has enough time to get truly engaged and to put the recovery first.
Right. And Mike, is there anything that you kind of want to tell us or tell viewers who maybe look at you and say, I'm in a similar situation, maybe this will work, maybe something else will work? What I guess could be a message from you?
Anything you could do will work, you know. Some things are better than others, but like I said, I have that with me at all the time where I can walk away if I'm in a situation and watch a video. You know, am I doing my goals for the day? There's goals set in there. You set your own goals. It's priceless to have that with you all the time.
Yeah, well, thank you both for being here. It's great to have you. We hope to have you back soon, and great to see how everything else is going. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll be right back with more of your WMBC Hometown after the break.